Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tracy Takes On. My name is Tracy, and I'm joined by a special guest who I'll let introduce himself here in a second. Before we get started, I want to invite everyone to like this video, comment, share, subscribe, and of course, self promotion. I'm also going to be sponsoring a scavenger hunt September the 3rd at 6 p.m. Cost is only $15. All money raised is going to go to get me a second computer because I desperately need one so my podcast can continue to go. So, on to our guest this evening. Now, he said I could just call him Rob, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have you introduce yourself because I really thought you were in one type of medicine, but you are completely in a different one.
Okay. So my name is Dr. Rob Stone, and I'm a palliative care physician in Bloomington, Indiana. And before that, I've been doing that for about the last 10 years. Before that, I worked in the emergency room for about 28 years. And I'm an advocate for Medicare for All. And I will turn it back to Tracy to see where she wants to go with this.
Okay, so you guys know last week we had such a fantastic time with discussing things that we could do with a pillowcase. I thought, let's do, yeah, that was our whole topic for like a whole, I mean, we had several uses. You can go back and see it, it's in the archives. But today I thought I'd let us all talk about silly excuses against single payer healthcare. And I think
Okay.
this is a really good one. I think there's some really silly excuses, and I know Rob, you got one. I got mine. Oh, hi, Susan. Okay, so the first one I have is the what will it cost people? Oh, that annoys me to the highest of the highest. I'm like, what do you mean? What it will cost? War costs. Nobody, I've never heard of a politician ever complain. Oh, you know, that last war, it was too much.
Right.
Oh, hello, Theus. So, Rob, I know you got one. Yeah, jump in there because we're
So
still
let me
waiting on
just,
Theus.
yeah, let me just say that I think, we have the United States has by far the most expensive healthcare in the world and nowhere near the best healthcare in the world. So we're already paying way too much and not getting nearly enough for it. So when people say, well, we can't afford to take care of everybody, I just say there's lots of data, there's lots of facts, there's lots of expert opinion that agrees that our system right now is really good at creating profit for the drug companies, for the hospitals, for the insurance companies, but it's not good at delivering healthcare for people. So there's plenty of good reason to believe that if we covered everybody using something like the current Medicare system, we'd actually save money and we'd cover everybody. So I understand why people kind of think that's a serious concern because people who are against taking care of everybody will certainly say, oh, yeah, we can't afford it. But I loved what you said. Yeah, nobody seems to ever question how much money we spend on a war.
And see how Rob went to the intellectual side of the argument. I just went towards the here it is. Like we went totally two different ways on this. Another one that irks, and remember, audience, the topic is silly excuses that you hear against single payer healthcare. I don't care how dumb they are. I've heard some dumb ones. Here's another one that I don't know if this one is more egregious than the first one. You just want something for free. Oh my gosh. What are you talking about? What are you like literally sitting here telling me? We've never said those of us who are for single payer healthcare have never said it's going to be totally free. It's healthcare. It can't be totally free, but it can be a whole lot 90 to 99% cheaper than it is right now.
Okay, I got one. Single payer healthcare is bad because it's socialism.
Oh my gosh, you got to it. Oh my gosh, you got to it. Wait a minute. So we got, okay, so let's see. Death panels. That was the Sarah
Oh my
Palin
gosh.
argument against. That was the Sarah Palin argument
Yep.
against the Affordable Care Act,
Yep.
which
Yep.
is better. Let's see. We have say better. It's better than U.S., but it's not universal health care. So what's it? Okay, Susan lives not in the United States. Susan, can you tell me what the difference between the two, because they sound very similar to me?
Or is she talking about the Healthy Indiana plan?
No, she doesn't live in the United States.
Oh, okay.
So she has something called state health care, but it's better than what we have, but it's not universal.
It's not universal.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't know what that is. You just said the one about socialism. I'm like, okay, genius. And when I say genius, I mean what you're saying is not genius. We have socialism. The fire department, the police department, teachers, cable, lights, water, Social Security, Medicare. All of those things are so, I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, I can't stand that one. I cannot stand that one. It's going to get me mad. So I'm going to move on to my one. Okay, so you said socialism. I said everybody wants something for free. Oh, well, what happens? What about the people who don't want it? See, here we go again with this one. And this goes back to the Pete Buttigieg argument of Medicare for all, for everybody that wants it. I'm like, no, there's no opt-out. When we get Medicare for all, and I'm saying when, because we're going to get it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
There's no, you don't get to opt out. It is what it is. You got to either take it. I don't know what other country you can go to, because they all have socialized medicine. I don't know where you're going. Like, I guess you could go to like Dubai or Saudi Arabia or someplace like that. But if you go to Europe, all the European countries have it. Oh, hello, Marlon.
You know, and Tracy, when you look at when these very conservative people who are against so-called socialized medicine, when they turn 65, they don't opt out of Medicare. They all, of course, they sign up for Medicare. It makes too much sense. So they don't seem to mind government health care when they turn 65. It's just up to that age, somehow it's a horrible thing.
Yeah, because people under 65, we never had medical issues like diabetes, hypertension, and things. Right. No, no. Oh, she's explaining what it is. So it's tax support. Everyone pays through their taxes, hospital, doctors.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now, thank you. Because I was like, these sound like the same thing to me. Another argument, and then we'll move on to the topic at hand that really, really, absolutely annoys me. You're trying to turn us into Europe. Really? Like Canada doesn't even exist. You do know that Canada has universal single-payer health care. Like they're our neighbor to the north. What are you talking about? I'm like, oh gosh, I can't with people sometimes. And I'm not saying with people. I'm mostly talking about politicians.
Yep.
And I'm like, what do you mean we're trying to turn you into Europe? No, we're not asking you to learn another language, which maybe we should. But we're just saying we should have better access to healthcare than what we have now. And these comments are coming in. Okay.
Okay.
See, but I like Medicare for all because it's easier for me to explain to people. And Medicare.
Let me take a shot at. Excuse me. Let me take a shot at this. I think I hear what he's saying, is that actually what we really talk about, Medicare for all is just a little bit of a shortcut. To make it a little bit longer, we say improved and expanded Medicare for all. So the current Medicare program is not perfect by any means. It leads to it's got these crazy things like the Medicare drug coverage, which is really complicated, and it's got some copays and deductibles. What we really mean is we want to use Medicare as the model because it already takes care of everybody over age 65. And if you think about it, the people, I'm over 65, I'm 70, and the people over age 65 are the most complicated and sick people in the country. Therefore, they're the most expensive. So we're already we are already taking care of the most expensive and complicated sick people under Medicare. But the Medicare program needs to be improved a little bit too. And so what we would like to do, what we propose is actually get rid of the copays and deductibles out of Medicare and completely change the drug program around so people aren't paying a bunch of money out of pocket. So I think that's what he was saying when he was saying Medicare is too complicated and I want to have everybody covered.
Thank you. See, this is why I brought Rob on. I struggled last week with this. I was like, no, I'm gonna get somebody. I'm gonna get somebody that knows more than me. No, thank you. So now let's move into since no one can think of silly reasons, silly excuses why we don't have one.
Okay.
Well, I do, and this was said by our 46th president. He said it costs too much. And I'm like, wait a minute, but you do know, and I'm talking about the Bernie plan for all the people out there that are not Bernie fans. Mm-hmm. So we all know that Senator Bernie Sanders proposed a single payer / Medicare for all plan. And it would cost, I forget the amount, I always forget the amount, but it was in the trillions of dollars. And he was like, well, how are you going to pay for it? But what he kept leaving out, which infuriated me, was the fact that single payer healthcare would save trillions of dollars over a 10-year period. And I'm just like, I think he knows better, but I want to give him grace, but not very much. I don't know why that argument keeps coming up.
Yeah, I think that Biden has actually, I was a Bernie fan for sure, but I think Biden has in many ways done a better job than I expected he would. But on healthcare, he's pretty much stuck. And I think I don't know. I mean, I think because he is, of course, ultimately a politician. And so I think that he believes that by not supporting single payer Medicare for all, that somehow makes him seem more like a wise moderate and not a radical. I don't know, but in my heart of hearts, I think he would sign a single payer bill if we got him one, if Congress got him one, but he really is stuck on saying, we can't afford it. It's not the right thing to do. It's too radical. But really what it means is when he says we can't afford it, I think really what he means is it would require overall that some people would pay more taxes to pay for it, but in the bigger picture, like you were saying, Tracy, it's going to save us money. We're going to be able to take care of everybody and spend less overall. Remember what I said at the start, we spend the most money on healthcare of any other country, whether it's total spending or per capita spending or percent of I'm getting too intellectual here.
No, that's okay. No, I want you to keep going, please.
Okay. But the way we would pay for it is just like the person who wrote the comment is we would pay for it with taxes. And here's the numbers, though. I mean, a lot of economists have looked at this. And right now, what they estimate is that for people who make, I believe, a married couple making over $250,000 a year under Bernie Sanders' plan, so that's the break is somewhere there, that people currently paying income tax on an income of over $250,000 a year would therefore end up paying more for their health care than they are now. But everybody making under $250,000 a year they would save so much from not having to pay premiums and paying all these out-of-pocket expenses. So they pay a little more in taxes, but they pay way less out of pocket because they're not paying premiums anymore. So everybody making less than that is going to come out ahead. They're going to save a lot of money. The country is going to save a lot of money. The American economy is going to save a lot of money. But there are some people who are making a lot of money right now and not paying very much taxes, whose taxes are going to go up. And of course, Biden doesn't want to step on their toasty little toes.
Yep. And I think Marlon's got a good point that I was just about to bring up. People who have taxpayers pay their insurance for life. Get to decide that. Marlon, thank you. That was my next point. I always wanted, and I'll talk about the Indiana Medicare for Medicare for All march here at the end. If a politician comes, I want to know. Oh, I hope a Republican. Please hear me. Let a Republican please come, because I got one question. I'll be very polite. I'll be so polite, but I want to ask them. We pay for their, and if I'm saying something wrong, doctor, just correct me. We pay for the president's health care, U.S. senators' health care, Congress's health care for life, whether they're in office or not in office. So that means that you're telling me that I should pay for your health care, which is the top of the line Cadillac care, but for some reason, I have to pay copays every time I see an endocrinologist, every time I see an ophthalmologist, every time I see a kidney doctor. Those copays add up, but for some reason, we're not holding politicians to that line to ask a very simple question. Why? Why are you asking me to pay for yours and you don't reciprocate it? I don't understand that.
I'm with you.
Oh, I thought you were going to answer. I'm like, because I'm like, that really frustrates me. I'm like, listen, Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz. Stop saying socialism. Okay, you don't want socialism? Let's tax your check and take out all your healthcare expenses for you, your wife, and your children. And let's just see let's just see how that goes.
Yeah.
The doctor just described sheer sacrifice, and that, unfortunately, that exists. Unfortunately.
Well, the awful lot of people in this country are making a lot of sacrifices. And a lot of people in Congress are trying to keep them from voting. And, a lot of people don't want to feel like we're all in this together. And they claim to be these rugged individualists, who think they don't need anybody else. I promised Tracy I wouldn't use any curse words on this. So,
yeah, it's just like the hypocrisy. It just utterly makes me mad. But I want to talk about two big tent things, because this is probably going to take up the majority of the discussion.
Okay.
One of the criticisms that and you talked about one of them previously, but let me get to Susan's comment first. So she says, bottom line is, healthy people are less expensive for the community at large and can work and pay more in taxes longer. The basic tax rate in Denmark is around 38 to 40%. Tracy, they know my rule. But one of the things I always hear in a criticism, and for some dumb reason, I was watching a clip on The View, a show I utterly despise. I don't know what. It just kind of drew on my timeline. But she said, oh, well, yeah, Americans they want single payer now because it's free, but they won't once they realize how much it costs. So I would like to talk about some ideas of where could we get this money. Now, I have some ideas, and people are saying, okay, Tracy, you're too far left. I want you to discuss some of the ideas that have been discuss and make sense, and you can specifically, because I know you know great details about the Bernie plan, talk about some of those things that were discussed.
Okay. So Bernie has kind of divided his plan into two parts. One is how it would work, and how it's going to make our whole system more efficient and make sure everybody gets taken care of and gets the care that they need. And then he's talked. And he's gone into a lot of detail about that. And then in terms of how to pay for it, he has been a little less specific about it, because what he has said is that, first of all, overall, it's going to save money. So that's the thing you've got to keep in mind, is for the whole country, it's going to save money. And so that makes it a little easier to think about. But when you think about what has happened with taxes, over really ever since Ronald Reagan was president. The tax rate under in the 1950s, when I was a kid, and Dwight Eisenhower was president, and he was a Republican. He was a Republican, World War II general hero, and the top tax rate when I was a kid was 90% for the ultra wealthy. So Republicans, used to understand that we need to have a government that works, to have a country that works. But then they got into this thing about cutting taxes. But what they always do is say they're going to cut taxes on the middle class, but they actually cut taxes for the wealthy. And this latest big tax cut that what's his name? I can't remember that former president's name now.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know who you talk. Ooh, I have no idea.
T45 or something.
Yeah.
That tax cut was way disproportionately for the very wealthy, who are already doing really well. And when you look at what's happened to the very wealthy people in this country over the pandemic, they have made out like bandits. I mean, they're making money hand over fist.
But Rob, you got to stop talking about your colleagues like that.
So the first step is to just roll back those Trump tax. Oh, I said it. I'm sorry, Tracy. I promised you I wouldn't curse, and there I did it. And that former president, roll back his tax cut. That right there covers about, I don't know, maybe a quarter of the cost of single payer. Now, if you think about it right now, so who's paying for their health care right now? And the person mentioned a minute ago that employers are paying for a lot of health care for people who are not yet retired or who are not yet Medicare age. So employers are paying for health care. They're not happy about it. It's a really difficult cost for them to budget. There's all sorts of problems with having our system right now, which is based on employers paying. So if we got a single payer plan, and we basically funded the program out of taxes, well, the people who would be suddenly rolling in money are the employers who are are currently paying for healthcare. And so the Bernie plan and all the plans that look at how to pay for it say, well, therefore, then the employers, instead of paying all this money for their employees' healthcare, they should be paying something pretty close to that back to the government in the form of business taxes. And so that's what would happen. And so that pays for another really large part of the costs. Remember, there's all those sorts of cost savings too. And so the final part would be probably some specifically new tax, like a tax maybe on stock transactions. There's a couple different ways to do it. But the point is, there are some very painless ways to pay for this out of taxes that are actually pretty safe. You can actually figure out what it's going to cost you as an individual. And remember, right now, we're paying. We have this socialized system where we pay for education, and so we're paying for teachers' healthcare costs. We're paying for the police, so we're paying for the police healthcare costs. We're paying for the fire departments, and on and on. We're paying for the city government and for the city waterworks. So all of those people, all of those entities are going to save so much money because healthcare is going to be taken off of their budgets. So I mean, I'm not going to deny it's going to be a big change, but I'm also going to say it's going to be a lot easier than what we got now, and we can actually figure it out instead of, like, if you're going to have a breast biopsy at Methodist Hospital next month, and you're trying to figure out what you're actually going to get charged for that, you're out of luck. They're supposed to tell you what it's actually going to cost, but they don't even know what it's going to charge you.
No.
So this tax stuff, we can figure it out. It's really not that hard to figure out. What we got to decide first, though, is really, I keep going back to how you started, Tracy, because I love that, is that we don't question how much the war is going to cost, the war in Iraq, or the money we're spending to try to support the people in the Ukraine. But when it comes to healthcare, they always say, "Oh my God, this is going to be terrible." But we can do this. This is something we can do.
Yep, we got some comments rolling in here that are just hilarious. So Marlon is referring to Gates, and Gates said this: the government should not get involved when it comes to capping insulin costs because when it comes down to it, it's mostly overweight people who need to do just a lifestyle change. As a diabetic, boy, I wish that was the case.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Let's see. Then
can I
Susie,
comment on that one, or do you want to?
yeah, I'm gonna go through them and then I'll let you come back to that one.
All right.
So
Okay.
people who can't afford anything but fat and sugar have very little choice, which is also true because food costs are very high. Okay, so this is the one I want to get to. The tax rate preceded that civil rights. A lasting issue here is always who gets to share in the government benefits to its citizens and who is a true citizen. I think that's an important one because I figure if you're contributing to the American economy, I don't care if you're a citizen or not. I think you should get exactly the same health care as I do. That's how I believe. That's just me. I know that's it. And let's see. And another one, the dollar saved by employees should really be more employee money. Yeah, they should put it in our checks. We would actually
good point. Excellent point. Yes, they should. Yeah. That's where that money should go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So actually, that's true. But here's another thing, and I tried to answer this, and then we're going to move on to corporate influence because I got to talk about the big corporations in terms of their lobbying. What would happen to the people who would be so when we get Medicare for all, because again, we're going to get it, no doubt about it. We are going to get it. You might as well get used to it because here it comes. What happens to the person that works at Cigna, Humana, Anthem? Now, I have a theory, and I was told I was crazy for this. I said, well, they could just go work for the government because this is going to be a huge, large entity that has to operate in all 50 states. They could just apply with the government. But maybe I'm being too simplistic in my answer.
So this is a really important question. And Tracy, if I get too long-winded, you just give me the hook.
Go ahead.
but this is something that I've thought about and a lot of people have thought about. And actually, if you look at Bernie Sanders' bill in the Senate, and if you look at Pramila Jayapal, she's a congresswoman from Seattle. She's got the companion bill in the House of Representatives, and both of those bills look very carefully at what do we do with people, because Anthem. I can't remember. I think the statistics are that Anthem has something like 75,000 employees. I mean, it's not, and of course they're headquartered right here in Indianapolis.
Yep, they sure are.
So what's going to happen to those folks? And so this has been very carefully looked at. And so here's what is proposed in the bill. And this has all been budgeted for in the bill. If we get single payer, then anybody whose job is because the insurance companies in particular are going to become just tiny shells of what they were before, the health insurers, because all they do right now is suck money out of our system. So if we get rid of them, then there are going to be a lot of people who are going to be out of work. And so the plan is that for 3 years, anybody who loses their job because of this transition to single payer would have access to, I think the latest numbers are something like $40,000 or $50,000 a year for 3 years that could be used for retraining. Because a lot of these people know a lot of things like, medical terminology and stuff. And a lot of people, and we're going to, and when we're finally taking care of everybody in this country, we're going to need not only more doctors, but we're going to need more nurses, more X-ray technicians, more all sorts of stuff. And so a lot of these people can then get retrained, and I admit this is a little bit snarky, but they could have meaningful work instead of working for the insurance companies. Now, the insurance company CEOs who are making 10, 20, $40 million a year, I got to shed some tears for them because they're not gonna make that much money after they get retrained to be a nurse, but they'll make it. They'll make it through.
You know what? You got to stop talking about your colleagues like that. I keep saying that. Don't do that. Stop it.
If you look at how much doctors make in Canada, they make really good livings in Canada. And, they the average internal medicine doctor in Canada makes over $200,000 a year. That's not bad money. So doctors are going to do okay under single payer. Some of the subspecialist doctors, some of my colleagues who are currently making over $500,000 a year, they may not do as well under a single payer system, but they're not going to starve. They're not going to need SNAP payments, food stamps payments. They're going to do okay.
But you just essentially touched on what I said. It's like they could be retrained to take jobs in this new entity it's going to be
Exactly.
a big system. There's no way
Yes.
it can be small and elite. Let's
Yep.
see. We got numbers coming. Yep, now I agree with that. Well, I sort of kind of I see where you're going, is. I see where you're going, but I'm going to disagree. Oh, the transition, not
Yeah.
destination.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Transition
But
can be quickly
here
complicated.
is what I because again, I literally can't understand why people are against something that benefits them. But then I look at it and I really oh, this is a good one. This is a good one. I'll get to my question. Just tell them to pull themselves. It works so well. That's what the insurance. If you look, if I made 10% of what the CEO of Anthem makes, I could literally buy a house. I'd be in good shape. I get my car paid off. I could afford the sensor that's gonna cost me $700. I mean, I'd be good to go. I would be good to go.
I love this image of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. I mean, if I'm sitting there putting a pair of boots on, I'm usually sitting in a chair pulling some boots on. If I pull really hard on my bootstraps, my knee is going to hit myself in the face. Do you ever
Oh
think
my
about that?
goodness, I never thought about that.
Oh, here's
Oh,
the
true.
question about the progressive tax. Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. Is the
Yep, that's
progressive tax
exactly.
system? Yeah, that we're
Yep.
for. That used to be an American ideal. That used to be a bipartisan idea. The wealthier people should pay a larger share because they've got everything else going for them. That's
You know,
progressive taxes.
there's another thing I want to talk about, and I got to get to it.
Okay.
It's the lobbyists. I have scratched my head 20 million times about how can we beat the lobbyists, because if you think about it, the lobbyists are in a better position, and I'm talking about the ones that lobby on behalf of the insurance companies. They're in a
Right.
better position. They have more money they have more money to contribute to candidates' campaigns. It's unlimited. I think PAC money is unlimited, but individual is capped. They have a better marketing message. They have a better outreach message. How does the David, i.e., those of us who want single payer healthcare, compete against Goliath that has all the resources, all the strength, all the power, all the money? Because I'm running out of ideas.
Tracy, that really is the ultimate question that I don't have a great answer to. I mean, I know the answer. The answer is we've got to outwork them. But the reality is that in the United States, it used to be years ago, the largest amount of money spent on lobbying were the defense contractors, the war profiteers. But now, over the last 10 or 20 years, it's been the largest amount of money spent on lobbying is on healthcare. Not just the insurance companies, but pharma, and the hospital agent, the hospital associations, and all sorts of stuff. The device makers, but that is where the biggest money is in terms of lobbying right now. But there was a great organizer in the past who said, they've got the money, but we got the people. So we've got to just mobilize people, and just like exactly what you're doing right now with this show, Tracy, and what you're doing to try to help organize this march in the summer. I mean, it's going to take people, because if I had a good answer for how to overcome all that money, we would have already won by
I
now.
know, because it's so I think and you just moved right into the March for Medicare for All Indiana. So
Yep.
for all of you that don't know out there, there's a national group called March for Medicare for All. And last year they had marches all across America. And of course, the great state of Indiana completely missed out on these marches because Indiana misses out on literally everything. I'm like, how do we never know these things? But we missed out. So I kept asking, when is the march for next year? When is the march for next year? Because somehow I wish I were in some sort of relationship where someone could stop me and say, you might want to think about this thoroughly through before you go through with it. So I thought, you know what? Why don't we just have a march in Indiana? We can have a march in Indiana, and I randomly out of the air picked a date, and that was July 23rd. So I'm thinking, oh, that's going to be one of many marches across America. Ha ha ha, wrong, because the national group has decided not to have national marches for this year. It's only going to be there's going to be 2 marches. Indiana is going to kick off the entire Medicare for All March event across America. Yep, that's right. Indiana, the state that did not have one last year, is going to kick off all the Medicare activities in July. So it'll be us first, and then the national group will move second. So Indiana, of course, I just said it, we are kicking off our march July 23rd in Indianapolis, the center state, Indiana. We'll have it. We're hoping some of our, we only have really one congressman that has lended his support, and that's pretty much it. But we're hoping to get public activists, those in the religious community, those in the medically frail community. We hope to get a lot of people who are involved in this to say, no, we're tired of just asking for it. Oh, would you please? That is over with as far as I'm concerned. I'm tired of asking for things. You're not going to give it. You're going to keep getting your money from Anthem and Cigna and Humana and whoever. No, I don't have time for that anymore. We're demanding it. And the time to ask is over with. So again, Indiana is kicking it off July the 23rd, 2022. And although we don't have a bank account, if you could slide something in the Bloomington's group a little way, every little bit helps. Because we're all just kind of, what is it, like 9 of us?
Something like that.
It's 9 of us on the committee, and we're bringing in just about every resource we know. And I'll tell you this, in 2023, you can forget about this one being the chairperson. No, you can forget about that. That's not going to happen because I don't have the skills. I'm just like, okay, it was just an idea. That's all I literally had was an idea. I'm like, no, I just want to do this. And the reason the group has also met, got a little bit under my skin. I kept saying every meeting, somebody be the chair of this, somebody. And everybody was like, nope, you can do it. No, I can't. I cannot. I can't. It's hard work. It is hard work to organize. And that's the thing. And it doesn't have anything to do with the Medicare for All March. But the Amazon workers in New York getting a union is giving me hope because I'm like, You know what? They worked and they worked and they worked and they beat Goliath. They beat somebody that I didn't think they were going to win.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, now I see it. I still don't want to be the chair of the event. I know, I'm like, I'm not doing anything. What am I actually doing? Now, this is where you're saying, well, Tracy, you're doing this and this and this.
Mm-hmm. You are doing amazing work on this.
Oh my gosh. To organize, it's hard work. It's hard work. We got some comments coming in here that I just want to get to. Weirdly enough, that makes me want to come home in March. I can't afford to live in the U.S. anymore, though not for long. But we could kick hard, Tracy. I'm kicking. I'm trying. I'm like, tired of my show and cuts away. Okay, Marlon, this is my platform. This here is mine.
He's trying to poach me.
Oh, we share guests all the time. So, yeah. Okay, let's see. Marlon, are you trying to expose this poor guy to Mickey? We have another person named Mickey who's on my other podcast. She's hilarious. No, stop this, Theus. You better stop this. I'm not. No, you have to stop this foolishness. See, you got the doctor here laughing because he knows this is a stupid idea. Stop that.
I think it's a brilliant idea.
I think that's the dumbest idea I've ever heard in my entire life. I don't keep on telling y'all, stop that stuff. Don't do that to me. But yeah, like I said, I wanted to talk about the march in Indiana because again, to go from we didn't even have a march last year to now we're kicking off the national march, that's a big deal for us. I mean, it's always stressful being the chair, especially when you don't want to be, and you would love for somebody else who's on this podcast with you to take over, but they don't want to because they're like, okay, no, I have an actual life, but that's okay. I'm okay with this. I know that what I want to discuss now, and we're going to discuss it in the meeting, is what happens after the march. Because I got a couple of ideas to go with that's going to engage the community, but they're not the traditional things.
What have you been thinking about?
I've been thinking about we could sponsor like a comedy show.
Oh, I love that.
But not in Indianapolis because the march is in Indianapolis. We could do it maybe in, oh, wait a minute. Hold on, because Anna, hi, Anna, but when you are a chairperson, you could, yep, see, that's been my job. I've been doing, I'm like, nope, not doing this. You do this, and you do this, and who's going to do this? But it's still, Anna, it's still a lot because when you're on the chair, that means that when that day comes, there's going to be people like, well, who's the leader? Oh, her, that girl right over there with all that gray hair, her. Go to her. No. I'll be like, and then, so, no, now, Susan, I can't do that because I'm in the 7th district. And we got a halfway decent person in the 7th district. So no, that's not gonna work. Sit close to Nina Turner when you get there. I'm not going. I'm not going. See, okay, this group here, they keep talking about this running for office. I'm like, I'm not going. So I said, okay, let's do a comedy show in Bloomington. Then we could do something in Evansville, like, I don't know, a concert. And then, like, in the northern half of the state, we could do something completely different. We would, of course, be educating them. And then we could do a whole day of action with the Indiana Assembly because they won't be in session when we march. We need to be like lobbying them like that, when they're in session, like have a lobby day. Yep. And that's what I'm pressing for at our next meeting. It's like, let's organize a lobby day. Not now because we have the march coming up and we're like, oh, wait a minute. I got to go to this one. Okay, Tracy's top 5 slogans because 10 is too much. Okay, I have this other podcast called Tracy's Top 5 because 10 is too much where I just take the top 5 of anything and I just go. And that's where he's getting that from. Okay, so Theus, you bring the passion, someone else will bring the work. No. Don't ignore me. Top 5. I just got to you. Your plan is to move, so new district. I'm not leaving Indianapolis. I am not going to live in the 6th or 5th or 6th. I won't. No. I'm not leaving the 7th district. No.
Well, Tracy, you're right. You can't challenge Andre Carson.
Sure can.
No, so that means the only thing left is to run for Senate.
See, Dr. Stone, I thought you were my friend. Now you're sitting there going with them. I'm like, no. If I was to do it. But see, my problem is I wouldn't want to run as a Democrat. I could, because I don't like everybody on this show knows I don't like the Democratic Party. I don't. I'm like,
Yep.
y'all make me sick. I can't with y'all and taking all this money. But then I'm not going to run as a Republican because they're completely white nationalists. So
Yep.
I'm like, and
Yeah.
can't really win. In Indiana, it's hard to get on the ballot as a third party.
Yep.
So I'm like,
Yes.
well, that I'm kind of stuck. I'm kind of stuck out there. Let's see. That's a good idea with games and everything. Like a car. Yes, I'm gonna go back and suggest that one too. That's a good idea. Thank you. Okay, as soon as someone says, go talk to that girl, they are going to have a long with her bothers. Marlon, could you kind of clarify what you're talking about? I think I know what you're saying. Let's see. But that's still third party. In Indiana's third party ballot rules, we got some. We like, why we got that high? We don't even have that many people. What are we doing? I think our minimum to get on the ballot is higher than California's. I'm like, wait a minute. I know California's got more people. Marlon met brothers. So he said as soon as someone goes to talk to that girl, they're going to have a long discussion with her brothers. Now I get where he was saying, okay, thank you, Susan, and thank you, Marlon. So, like I said, it's a long road, but I'm in this to win this. I don't even say if we're going to get Medicare for all anymore. I'm like, no, we're going to get it. You can either sign it, and I'll support you, or you can be all Joe Biden and talk about, oh, dude, I'll veto it, and then, oh well, guess who gets my vote next time? I'm not tolerating anything else. I really am not. And so I had one more question, but I want to make sure that everybody, since you all have had so many, minus the Tracy run for office discussions, had so many great comments. Were there any lasting questions that you have that I did not ask Dr. Stone? I'm sorry, Rob, that I didn't ask Rob. Doesn't look like any questions. So when I go back to put my descriptives in here, because I'll add it to the website, I'll link the Indiana Medicare for All site or our Facebook group. But again, keep in mind for that March, Indiana's March is July 23rd, 2022. We'll start off at the Soldier and Sailors Monument, and then we'll march down to the State House. We'll rally there. And we're just going to do this. Oh, one more comment came. You'll love this one, Rob.
The undisputed, the top dog.
Okay, Theus, what was your first question? Theus says he has a first question. I got to his other ones. Oh, here he goes. Okay. I think this is the first one, I'm hoping. So, for the doctor, what are some reforms you feel would prevent even more abuse from private insurers under Medicare for all? So, I think he's talking about when doctors basically shyster the system. I think that's what he's saying, but I don't like to speak to anybody.
Well, when you take the profit motive out, then these for-profit health insurance companies just go away. So that's been a big problem. Is you got to go through all these prior authorization. You get claims, you get things denied. You can't get the tests done you want. You can't get the drugs filled that you want. So all that just goes away with Medicare for all because the insurance companies. Here's the thing: if I'm answering the question he's asking here about the abuses of the insurance companies. The way the insurance companies work, they're a business. They're a business that's got to make a profit. And so their income comes from premiums and their costs are for paying for people's medical care. So the best way for them to be profitable is to figure out ways to not pay for healthcare, to figure out ways to not pay for people to get the care they need. I went to medical school to take care of sick people. That's why I went to medical school. That's why I practice as medicine, is to take care of people. So I'm on the opposite end of the insurance companies. So the private insurance companies, the for-profit insurance companies would go away under Medicare for all. So that would be the end of that.
Yeah, I think what this may be alluding to is when like a doctor like writes in these enormous claims or stuff they didn't even come close to produce. Because the way I understand the Medicare system, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Medicare says, okay, this is what we're gonna pay for an X-ray. I don't care if it's X-ray of the leg, X-ray of the thigh, X-ray of the brain. This is what we're paying. That's all you're going to get. Where with private insurers, they more or less, the government sets their price and that's it, you're not negotiating. But the private insurance companies, they do negotiate. So they go back and forth and back and forth. And so there's a lot more fraud on the private end because they're negotiating that cost. Whereas with the government, it's just set and that's it. And you're not arguing it. And you just got to deal with it.
And all those arguments back and forth between the insurance company and the doctor's office, that all takes people time and energy, and you got and those. So the people who are right now are making their living by arguing from the insurance company side. They're the ones who are going to have to get retrained. But I think they're going to be happier with their jobs after they stop working for the insurance companies.
Yep. And I told you this would take 45 minutes. And I knew it. I was like, I'm gonna stay under here, but everybody had such good participation this time. Let's see. This has got another one. That's that's true. Yep, I think that's what you're saying is the problem.
The insurance companies, they're the carriers, right?
Yep. Let's see what else.
Tracy, I gotta warn you though, I'm getting hungry.
I know, I'm trying to end it, but everybody keeps coming with these.
So Medicare runs through carriers. Well, that's true if you, unfortunately, I mean, it's a long topic, but traditional Medicare is it's you, the government, the doctor. It's that simple. Now, then you've got to have these supplement plans, and those are private carriers, and we want to get rid of all of them. But then the other thing is that there are these Medicare Advantage plans, which are a privatized form of Medicare. And it's a big topic I don't want to get too deep into the weeds with, but we would also get rid of the Medicare Advantage plans and just go to traditional Medicare.
Right. And that's what I'm hoping to bring on next week is I'm going to bring on someone that can explain that because like I said, I tried my best and I'm like, oh no, I just know everybody should have health care. That's all I know.
Yep.
But tell everyone where they can find you in terms of social media.
Okay. So I am, so in terms of all resources, so I'm a member of a national physicians group called Physicians for a National Health Program. So that spells PNHP, Physicians for a National Health Program. And for information, if you go to their website, pnhp.org, there is just so much information there, and it's factual and it's well presented. And then, I probably one of these days should do things like Twitter, but I haven't really kind of gotten my act together. But the webpage, the Facebook page that I'm most active on is called Medicare for All Indiana. And that's pretty easy to find.
Thank you so much. Like I said, I thought this was going to be 45. I'm like, I'm going to try. But blame all the people in the comments. They had some really good questions. Great questions. Next time, bring a snack. He's in Bloomington. I can't bring him. He's in Bloomington. I'm in Indiana. So I want to thank everyone for this thoughtful discussion. Again, Dr. Stone, I know you can't do this again, but I'll see you in July. We're gonna get this done.
Yep.
We're gonna take it to the State House. They can either give us what we're asking, or they can pay the consequences of us voting elsewhere. That's just basically what it goes down to. everyone remember all my advertisements, support my Patreon. So, like this video, share this video, comment. I don't have to tell you all about the comment parts because you comment up a storm this evening. But remember this Friday, this channel is sponsoring a game night. And that's going to be just the Patreon and myself playing some interesting games. They'll be really fun. It won't be more than an hour. But if you're not a Patreon, you're not going to get to play. And I promise it's going to be a great time. Dr. Rob Stone, thank you so much. And again, I'll see you in Indianapolis the 23rd.
Sounds good. We got a date.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. You're doing great work.